to strike a balance.
All right, gentlemen, let's move on quickly. It is said that every day is for the thief, but just one day is for the owner. And the bubble will burst. So it has been for pro-Biafran agitator Simon Ekpa, who was arrested in Finland for alleged terrorism-related activities. According to Finnish authorities, Ekpa is scheduled to face charges in May 2025. A senior detective superintendent at Finland's National Bureau of Investigation, Mikko Laxner, confirmed that the district court sets May 25 as a deadline for prosecutors to present possible charges against Ekpa. Meanwhile, some stakeholders are pushing for the release of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. This is not the first time Simon Ekpa would be arrested. What's different now?
I think this time they didn't just arrest him. They have a case against him, and they confirmed that the offense was committed in the Leti municipality in 2021. So my issue with them is, if he committed this offense in 2021, why has it taken this long to try to bring him to justice? And don't also forget, they also arrested some guys along with him that they accused of sponsoring terrorism, making funds available for terrorism. When you look at the fact that Nigeria had complained, I think about 8 months ago, Nigeria declared them wanted, and we actually reached out to the European Union delegation that they should help Nigeria to apprehend this fellow and so that he can come and face justice in Nigeria. So there was no way that the Finnish authorities could have continued to allow Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa, to continue his activities, given the fact that those activities have brought the economy of the Southeast to its knees. Those activities have led to loss of lives and property, especially loss of lives of our servicemen. So many of our soldiers have been murdered at checkpoints. So many of us are policemen and civil defense operatives have been murdered in the name of sit at home. Because IPOB instituted sit at home in the first place, and the whole idea was, okay, to come up with an idea with a kind of civil disobedience initiative that would draw attention to the plight of Nnamdi Kanu, who was in captivity. But Nnamdi Kanu, thanks to pressure from the late Senator Ifeanyi Umba, as well as the highly respected Eze Chukwuemeka Eri of Obugad, one of the most respected traditional rulers in Nigeria today. He's the king of Enugu Aguleri. He went with Ifeanyi Umba to see Mazi Nnamdi Okuchukwu Kanu inside his cell in the DSS headquarters. And he agreed there and there. He even wrote it in his hand. It's his handwriting that there will be no more sit at home. In the past, they even limited it to only days that Nnamdi Kanu is brought to court. He said, no more. Whether I'm brought to court or not, no more sit at home. He agreed, and in his own hand, he wrote the resolution. In spite of that, Simon Ekpa continued to get his gullible supporters to enforce a sit at home that the people who instituted this said they were no longer interested in. So I think that the Finnish authorities took too long in taking this decision. But justice can be late, but no one will say justice is not desirable. So at this point, I think they've done well, and as we've been told, this kind of offense is not bailable. There's no provision for bail. So until this case comes up in May, he's going to most likely remain in detention while they work on perfecting his case. The good thing about some of these countries is that before they will pick you up, they would have a cast iron case against you. Cast iron evidence. They are not like us who arrest and then you start investigating, looking for evidence. No. The moment they got hold of former governor of Delta, James Ibori, he never returned home. He was jailed along with his wife, his lawyer, his aides, I think even his girlfriend. You know, they just jailed. They jailed them. So for them to have taken this step, I believe that they have sufficient evidence against him. So he will have his day in court, and hopefully to reduce the rate of insecurity in the Southeast.
Adeoye, let me come to you. Your first reaction to the story.
Well, my reaction is kind of with caution. You know, I think for the first time the Nigerian government intensified international campaign in terms of saying that the Nigerian government is actually interested in seeing that Simon Ekpa, you know, faces justice. And the government, the Foreign Affairs Ministry invited the Finnish ambassador. And when it gets to that level, it shows that the Nigerian government wants Finland, you know, to take action. He has been in that country for a very long time. And I think why he was not arrested until February 2023 was that the offenses linked to him, you know, were not committed against the state of Finland. It's another third country. So under Finnish law, there are limitations. But when it starts to do with terrorism, which is the new charges brought before him now, countries can take action because terrorism is an international crime, and incitement to crime. Those are the two things that the government of Finland is talking about. However, in all of this, I believe that Simon Ekpa came as a new phenomenon. There have been different people that have come over the years talking about the same thing. So getting him arrested, getting him jailed, is a victory for those who don't like Simon Ekpa. But it's not a victory for Nigeria in the sense of addressing the question, the national question, which is a recurrent problem that some people are saying that, look, we are not happy with the system, we are exclusion, we are talking about isolation, we are talking about the lack of right to self-determination. All right. Unfortunately...
Adeoye, kindly hold on. Okay. At this point, we'll be joining the live transmission of the opening ceremony of the 2024 Civil Service Games in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Journalist Tangal continues on other platforms. All right, Adeoye, please go ahead.
Okay. So, unfortunately, we have taken that our leaders, especially our brothers from the North Shore, let's sit down and look at some of these issues. Look at the issue of even little tax reform that we are talking about. Some people, oh, we don't want it. So they are not ready to grant a little concession. And it's going to make things worse. It's going to make things worse. So I believe that we need to realize that there is no country that has a perfect structure.
That's correct.
People all over time have the right to challenge the structure. And the best thing, in a non-violent manner. And the best thing you have to do is to sit down with them. Britain has passed through a lot of reformations, a lot of transformation. The US, the same thing. People think that after 60 years, the structure of Nigeria must remain the same. No. We need to sit down and look at the issues being raised by people, talk together, look for a way to resolve some of these things. If people are producing, a tax of about 80%, and so are you saying that they should take the minimum percentage of what they are producing? So if little things as even tax reform, you are not ready to listen to people, then if you are not careful, you may lose everything. So I think we need to listen to ourselves, and then even look at the issue of power shift. It took a lot of struggle to say, okay, let's power go to this. Some people think, oh, it must be in the north forever. You can't have a good nation, with that kind of arrogance.
I'm sure our next conversation is basically about that. But before then, is there a possibility that this arrest brings peace to the Southeast?
Well, I think in a way, it will send signals that the international community is concerned about what's going on in the Southeast, and that people who are inciting violence, who are killing people, there will be a day of reckoning, if not in Nigeria, but the International Court of Justice. So it shows that people need to agitate without resorting to violence. That even if you are not going to be arrested here, one day you may travel abroad, and people, because they are keeping records. You may not know that they are keeping records. People think they can just kill and go. It may be 20 years. Your records are there at your fingertips. Maybe you just travel to US, and then they will pick you, and then those charges will be laid again. So we must be very careful, to push the idea of violence as a way to make our claims.
All right, gentlemen, the second part of this conversation is about Nnamdi Kanu's release. Some stakeholders are pushing for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Yeah, that's a significant development. Well, you see, talking about Simon Ekpa, Simon Ekpa talks about the need for Biafra. But how do you say you are fighting for a people and you are taking their lives? I've never really seen him as a freedom fighter. Because the same people that you said you are fighting for, you are killing them. You are killing their businesses. Today, the Igbo man who takes his business seriously will send his container to neighboring states like Delta, because Monday is the day that they actually open their containers. They come to Lagos, they've cleared their goods, they take church seriously, and by Monday they want to open the container. That is the day that you said they should not work. So how do you kill the same people that you said you want to rescue? That is the question that Senator Abaribe and others are asking. And he's saying, well, if Simon Ekpa is taken out of the equation and government releases Nnamdi Kanu, then we will now know the criminals who are masquerading as freedom fighters, because many of them had been saying, oh, we are fighting because Nnamdi Kanu is unjustly being detained. Now, if Nnamdi Kanu is released and you continued the same, sit at home, the same killing of people who venture out to work on Mondays, then it will mean that it's not Kanu that you are fighting for. And that is the point that Bianca Ojukwu, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, is saying. She is pushing aggressively for the president to release Nnamdi Kanu, because as far as she's concerned, that will be a game changer. And we would then be able to know those who are actually criminals, but claiming to be fighting for Nnamdi Kanu. So I think that this is something that the president can look at. I have also clamored for his release in the past, but the decision lies with the president, because nobody wants to take a decision that he will regret. It can work in different ways. There are those who believe that releasing him at this time would douse tension and bring down the level of insecurity in that part of the country. maybe. I don't know how much influence he has on the criminals who are killing people now, because this matter has gone beyond, I think, cultists and other categories of non-state actors have hijacked this matter. It's pure criminality. A lot of people who are kidnapped are made to pay hefty ransom. Especially, and some of them, they will pay ransom and they still get killed. I don't think that a lot of those guys are doing it for Nnamdi Kanu. They are doing it for themselves. So, how does Nnamdi Kanu come out of prison and be able to keep such people in check? If some of them, look at Simon Ekpa, the way he does not see Nnamdi Kanu as his leader, for example. Even when I suggested that Nnamdi Kanu is the top dog among the agitators, he was abusing me on Twitter.
Yes, I saw it.
So, such people do not think that they are responsible to Nnamdi Kanu. They do not think that he's their leader. So, how does Nnamdi Kanu get to deal decisively with those people? Because in that interview that I granted in the courtroom, he said, if I come out, and none of them can look me in the face. If I come out, this whole nonsense ends. Just the same way that Donald Trump said, if he comes out, the war between Ukraine and Russia will end in one day. I don't know. I feel for him. I think that Nnamdi Kanu that went into captivity is different to the Nnamdi Kanu who has suffered.
Think he has learned his lessons?
Yes, you can see the way he was speaking. He was even talking against armed struggle and all that. I said, this is something that you've always been known for. So he even suggested that if they will put him under house arrest, he's happy to be under house arrest rather than remaining in that detention facility. So as I've always said, if Nigeria will listen to Nnamdi Kanu, it has to be with some conditions. Nobody should expect that they will just free him unconditionally. He has to agree that armed struggle against the country of his birth has to end. He has to give up this kind of agitation that has led to loss of lives and ruination of the economy of the Southeast. So it's for the president to, I will encourage the president to give it some consideration. And if he's convinced that it's the right step to take at this time, that is his decision to take. And no matter what we feel about Nnamdi Kanu, we are not the president. If the president feels that, look, he can undo the situation, fine, they should take steps to have him released from detention. All
right, Adeoye, your final take on this. Releasing Nnamdi Kanu, how dicey is it for the federal government?
Well, I think it's a very complex thing, but I believe that it will be a victory for the current regime if you can take that decision to release him. You can probably put him in house arrest and see what happens in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Because a lot of people are claiming that they are committing violence because he's being kept in detention. They will have no other excuse than to, stop that kind of violence in the South. And I believe he should be given the opportunity to reach out to his people and talk to them. So I'm in support of his being released. But just like Mbawagide said, that decision constitutionally can only be taken by the president of the country. But I think it is better we release him so that we can see. I mean, he has been kept for so many years and things are getting worse. I believe releasing him will be better. I also believe he ought to have learned his lessons, at this time.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Let's move on to our final conversation for today. After